YouTube, Shuka here with a review of the Pokemon Mewtwo and Greninja posable action figure. So I'm really excited about these. There is a specific name for the line, but it's like not on the packaging, so I don't remember it off the top of my head. But we'll stick with posable action figures for now. So this is the third in the series. We've had Mega Blaziken and Mega Lucario in Wave 1. Wave 2 had Ash, which I unfortunately didn't take a look at, and Machamp. And now Wave 3 is Mewtwo and Greninja. I found these at my local Walmart for $12.99 a piece. Really looking forward to checking these out. Mewtwo does have other posable figures on the market. The D-Arts comes to mind, as well as an upcoming, I think, variable action figure by Metacom or something along the lines of that, and in the style of Pokken. So if you're interested in Pokken Tournament, you can check out that along with the Lucario. But I'll hopefully be taking a look at those when they release. But 14 points of articulation for Mewtwo, but this is the first Greninja figure, posable Greninja figure that we've had thus far. And Greninja being a favorite Pokemon of mine, I'm really looking forward to taking him out of the box and checking him out. Fortunately, he only has 12 points of articulation, but I think that's because Mewtwo's tail is articulated, and those count. But at the very least, let's go ahead and get these open and take a look. And here they are. Let's go ahead and push Greninja out of the way for now and take a look at Mewtwo first. So here he is. Very weird quality on this guy. His head is a different plastic material than the rest of the figure. So his head is very shiny compared to the rest of his body. So it's kind of weird looking in good lighting conditions. I think if it's just on a shelf somewhere like in the corner and it doesn't have a spotlight on it or anything, it might be a little less noticeable. But that's just one thing I noticed right off the bat that was actually kind of weird. I'm not really sure why they did that. But one thing that is actually pretty cool is that this piece right here is very pliable. His little umbilical cord-esque neck head thing. And so when you move his head around, it kind of moves with it, which is really nice. It's a nice little touch. So he still has pretty much full range that you would expect him to have, other than up and down is a little bit hindered. But that is what it is. It's not a huge deal. In terms of the remaining articulation, you do have a kind of ab crunch, swivel, ball joint socket right there. Pin swivels in the shoulders and the elbows right there. Down here is just a ball and socket joint for the hips and a single pin swivel right down there at the foot. And then on the tail here, you have a swivel right there, a swivel right there, a swivel right there, and a swivel right there. So you got all sorts of fun little tail swivels, so you can do all sorts of whatever you want with Mewtwo's tail. That being said, Mewtwo's feet are really tiny. So you're always going to have to support him with his tail, which isn't that bad. His tail is made in a way where it can be used to support the figure and not look really weird. So that is a definite plus. I do appreciate that. I don't want my figures looking weird. So there is that. There is a kind of really grotesque looking screw hole cover right there, which doesn't match the plastic of his back. So that's a little off-putting, but if you just sit him on a shelf and you're looking at him front way, you're not going to see that at all, so it's not really a huge deal at all. But really nice figure. In terms of like getting poses, you can actually get a pretty decent amount of poses thanks to the fact he's got an ab crunch and stuff. But the real problem you're going to get is trying to pose him in situations where his tail doesn't get in the way because it is so big and heavy. So you're always going to have to be using that tail as a brace. So you're a little bit hindered. If you want to pick up like TOMY stages or something like that, then by all means you could probably get him in some like cool flying poses. Unfortunately, his leg only goes back that far, so he's not really going to be kicking anything or anything like that. He can punch. Mewtwo, punch! Right there. Or fist bump if you want. So posability is not the greatest in the world. It is not as good as the Machamp figure was, but it's still a nice little Mewtwo figure. Overall, I think if you didn't pick up the D-Arts release, and you want a much, much, much cheaper alternative for a posable Mewtwo figure, this is pretty good. Like I said, the variable action release is coming up in honor of Pokken. So if you like the Pokken games, you might want to take a look at that figure instead. But again, it's going to be about 3 times as much as this figure. Good old collector's market. So there we go. So a pretty good representation of Mewtwo. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Greninja. Alright, as much as I love Greninja, he isn't without his problems. Like Mewtwo, his feet are weird, because that's just how he's designed. And I think mine got a little bit bent in the box. In the box. I tried to combine package and box. So he's got a little bit of problems going on, and that single joint right there at the what would be a knee on Greninja isn't the tightest in the world, so he's got a few issues standing. Again, if you have a stand or something like that that can grip his waist, you're in for all sorts of cool poses. In terms of articulation for Greninja, you do have a head swivel right there. Obviously, no up and down movement because of his big old tongue scarf. Speaking of, no articulation on the tongue scarf whatsoever. You do have a pin swivel right there at the shoulder, as well as on the elbow. And like Mewtwo, it does swivel back and forth. Got an ab crunch right there. Not as good as Mewtwo's, but it certainly gets the job done. Ball and socket at the hips. Single joint at the knee. And again, it does swivel, unlike Mewtwo's. Mewtwo's does not swivel. So there is that. There's all the points of articulation on the Greninja figure. But that being said, I do like this figure a lot. It doesn't really reach the quality of collector's grade products, but this is a $12.99 figure you can buy at Walmart. So to kind of compare it to a collector's grade figure would not be fair. And for the price that I paid for this, I think it's definitely worth it. If you're a fan of Greninja, hunt this guy down, because it's really the only representation we have of Greninja in a posable format. So I definitely recommend hunting him down. Again, he does have problems. His hip joints aren't all that tight, so it's hard to get him in good battle poses or anything like that. And obviously with no accessories, you're not going to get a really cool display going, but just for a kid that wants a posable Greninja figure, this is totally up their alley. And even collectors that want a posable Greninja, like I said, this is the only one. So you kind of take it or leave it. That's not a terrible pose. I'm bad at posing, guys. I'm just letting you know right now. But I love this figure a lot. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Greninja, so when I found out they were making a Greninja figure in this line, I flipped a biscuit. I knew I had to get it. And I'm really glad that I was able to find it at Walmart, because this is a really nice figure. In terms of details, it misses a couple things here or there, but all in all, the head sculpt is pretty good on this. He has that kind of blank Greninja expression that Greninja has a lot, because his mouth was hidden by the scarf. I kind of wish the scarf moved a little bit, either had a joint to kind of get closer, kind of like Mewtwo's tail, so to speak. But alas, it does not, but that's not a huge deal again. So other than some standing problems, I got no issue with this guy whatsoever. A really solid Greninja figure. So overall, I like these guys a lot. They're not without their flaws, but for a $12.99 figure you can pick up at Walmart, they're a pretty good value in my humble opinion. If you're a fan of Mewtwo or a fan of Greninja, you should not let these pass you by. If you see them, go ahead and pick them up. With a bunch of other posable Mewtwo's on the market, it's hard to totally recommend this guy, but again, he's going to be about a third of the price of anything else you find, and a lot less than the DRs, because that's such an old release, its price skyrocketed. So if you're a fan of Mewtwo but on a bit of a budget, this is an excellent figure to pick up. If you're a fan of Greninja, by all means, gung-ho, pick this up as soon as you see it. It's a great little figure. He does have his standing problems, of course, but that being said, it's a nice, solid figure. The details are good. The posability in general is pretty good, and I love it a lot. It's a shame that we're not going to get an Ash Greninja, but you never know. They could release one later on down the line. I certainly hope so, because Ash Greninja is a really cool form. It takes Greninja, an already cool Pokemon, and makes him even cooler by adding more colors. Because that's what determines cools, right? Colors? I just said cools. Anyway, that about does it for this review. If you like it, go ahead and blast that like button, comment below, and subscribe for more. So as always, thanks for watching, take care, and have a great one. Bye.